one. And recording. Hello, welcome. My name is Bryce Tubbs. Today with me is Lauren Houssain. She helps busy professionals to stop binge eating, make peace with food, and feel fabulous in their skin effortlessly in as little as 90 days. I'm super excited to share her story with you guys and really grateful to be able to have some time with her. Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Well, thank you, Bryce. You say it Bryce or Bryce? I never know.
Bryce with a B.
Bryce. Sorry, I'm
It's okay.
Sometimes I don't know how to say first names.
Yeah, it's understandable. It happens sometimes. Is there anything else you'd like me to add to that introduction?
No, that's fine. The introduction is fine. It's this is what I do. So you nailed it.
Nice. So, everybody has a backstory. What was life like before you got into coaching, and what was the catalyst that got you into this field?
I'm more like an accidental coach. Basically, I was looking. For many years, I felt trapped, like emotionally trapped, like mentally trapped, and not being able to express myself, my true self, the person that I was. And I had a lot of anxiety attacks, and every time I was trying to make progress and go forward in life and do things that were dear to my heart, I was stressed, and I had anxiety attacks and panic attacks. And then basically my life crumbled at some point, and I realized I was a codependent. That I was in toxic relationship because I was a codependent person, and I started dating a man who had issues with food, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is something I can help him with, and I was looking for something to work with women because I come from a family of martyr. I don't know if that makes sense. It's it's like my grandma flew Spain, and then she had to take care of her whole family because my grandfather didn't know how to. And so I saw a lot of women that were hardworking, but they were not acknowledged in their power and greatness and I think what they deserved. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to impact women this way, and I wanted to impact myself this way. And so then I went on this quest of like, how do I get rid of this anxiety? How do I get rid of all these internal blocks that I keep, like, they felt like, like I was this racing car with the brakes on. I don't know if it makes sense when I express that, but it's just really how it felt. And so it took me about, I think, 6 years. So I stumbled upon a technique called EFT. That was the first technique. It's an acronym for Emotional Freedom Technique. A lot of people know it also as tapping. I don't know if you heard about it, Bryce. Yeah. So that was helpful. It helped me release the stress in the moment. So it helped me a lot. And I started taking the first clients after that. So I started with EFT, and then I kind of like went with stacking different types of techniques because I was trying to create a holistic approach that would be an approach that I would feel comfortable sharing and helping women use for their own personal transformation. So I focused on helping women with emotional eating, or like daily grazing and binge eating. So they all have their own different profiles, but I focused on that, and I realized, a lot of it was emotional, and there was a lot of it had to do with self-image, so and psychology, and all the things that I could relate to. It was very close to what I had experienced. And the first time I went to the States, it was as an exchange student. I started becoming a sugar addict there. So I knew exactly how it felt. It was so bad. I lost, I think, it's like I had healthy teeth when I arrived in New York, and I had teeth that had a lot of work done, about 3 or 4 of them when I left.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. And it happened in, I think I stayed there 2.5 years. So that was pretty bad. So I knew exactly how it felt. And I knew also how it felt to eat, to be at peace with food. So I knew both sides. So I was like, oh, this is something I'm really good at. I can help somebody go from, fighting food to being at peace with food. And so it's been my journey. And ever since I've been stacking those different approaches, and I've been having pretty phenomenal results.
Mm.
Some people change in one day. And I'm not saying this is everybody. I mean, this is the exception, all right? When you've been binge eating for 20 years, you got to be realistic. It's got to take a little bit of time. Then I ended up creating my own roadmap. It's my food peace roadmap with specific steps. And I always go back and I always look at the same thing. And it's really what I call personal transformation. So it's zooming in on the things that cause either emotional eating, binge eating, and usually they're both of them are present at the same time for different reasons. Because I don't know if you wanted me to explain that or if I go into that or not, because it can take about 5 minutes.
Yeah, if you'd like. Yeah, it's your
No, because I'm just answering your first question. So
it's your
I'm
floor.
thinking that maybe you have more after that.
Well, actually, yeah, because I guess that when you tell us why that occurs, that's that is what the next question would be about. So yeah.
All right. So I've seen patterns over time that we had, so there's a classical definition of binge eating that usually stems from over dieting or like an addiction to dieting. And when you dive deeper and you dig deeper and you look at what created that, because I don't know if the 5 whys. Why this, why this, why this. I don't know if you know that about that technique, the 5 whys.
Mhm.
Well, I always ask the reason behind the reason and behind the reason. And binge eating, I started creating my own mind map and my own system to try to explain it. And one was I have overeating drives. This is how I call them. And I have dieting drives, and they're fighting each other. And at some point, the overeating drives win. And why is that? Well, there is a lot of people talk about the survival brain or the unconscious that wins over the conscious mind, or the survival brain that wins over the logical decision-making part of our brain. Well, it has a lot of this, there's a lot of this going on, but understanding this is not, I think, from experience, is not something that is enough. That was not enough for me. So I try to understand what was causing this. And I found that there was a whole system. Basically, we had different aspects of ourselves that became activated. Sometimes it was because of a certain situation. Sometimes it was because we experienced too much frustration. Sometimes it was fear, fear of missing, fear of not having enough, all kinds of different things. So I think it would be easier if I took if I shared some examples. For example, there is a woman who didn't believe she could ever experience true love with a man, with friends. Basically, she deep down her felt unlovable.
Mhm.
And food was, and I'm simplifying, but food for her was a way to connect to this feeling of love, because she was raised in a family where people would gather and would sit down and have dinner, and that gave her that feeling of love. So she was trying to get access to something she didn't believe she could have through eating. And I'm going to give you two other examples, if that's okay with you, so that it's easier for people to understand what causes binge eating. Another person was raised without having enough food. Basically, she was deprived of food. And every second she felt like she didn't have access to food and she might be hungry, she would just stop whatever she was doing. She would have to rush to the kitchen and eat.
Wow.
And and this person was a stay-at-home mom when I worked with her. So she was around the kitchen all day. You know, she was not very far from it. And for her, it was stressful, right? Because she didn't have any control. And what we did is we went back and saw what created that, and we connected to the aspect of her was this little girl who had learned that there was not enough. There was not enough food for her, and that she would be deprived, and she had to rush whenever she would feel the hunger and go to see that there is enough food. So her logical mind could see there was enough food, but some aspect of her could not. So she was always grazing throughout the day, gaining weight and feeling, really uncomfortable in her body. Okay. So once the different aspects of herself that were triggering that reaction of running for food realized that, hey, things have changed. So it's a technique I've borrowed from somebody I like very much, and it's really like she calls it upgrading the child, this Marie Sapir, and it's really like saying to the child, hey, times have changed. Look at our life today. And when that message got received and that safety got created, the problem disappeared. It vanished. I mean, completely vanished. She was fine, and the work was done. So she didn't graze. She didn't feel like grazing. She didn't have craving. She didn't have anything to fight because she didn't have any reason to. Mm-hmm. And another one would be somebody who was dieted too much or dieted a lot because she felt that being skinny was the only way to be accepted or to be appreciated or to be emotionally safe, because there was a lot of shaming maybe when she grew up. So I'm thinking about 3-4 different people at the same time, actually more, but trying to make them fit into one example. And so there was some shaming and some pain around being rejected for having a body that is not, accepted as it is. And so that created a lot of emotional, what's the opposite of safety, Bryce? I don't have a word.
Danger?
Insecurity, or what did you say?
Danger,
yeah. This perception of danger, of threat. And we had to work on this, give the self-confidence to those women that, hey, they were acceptable the way they are, and if people shame them, that's their problem. And then things became so much easier. So these are 3 different examples and 3 different aspects that were very specific to each person. So that's why I'm just trying to give example, because there's not one answer for everybody. There's one answer. Each answer is specific to each person.
Okay, cool. Just kind of switching gears, what is the vision for your life?
I have a different vision. As we spoke just before this interview, I told you that I have my own desire to contribute to this world. And for this, I want to create, I think, my own company also, which is not coaching, because I have this vision of something that I have called an systemic leadership. Is the idea that if you bring self-mastery and you really are your actualized self, you will behave from the most positive part of yourself. You'll be honest about who you are. You will be a person who will be in the right job, or the right occupation, because you're honest with yourself. You're connected to your true self. And that's what I call self-leadership. I'm not the only one to call it this way, but this is really having this inner mastery, self-mastery, and self-leadership. And I really want to, in my own way, I would like to contribute to that vision, and also contribute to people who want to create startup using a different model, which is not just about the monetary value that you give to the world, but also other different aspects of values, like the value that you give to your clients, the value that you put out to your community and the people who work for you. So starting to have a different vision about what it is to be a human being in the community, in the earth community. So I don't exclude anyone. So this is really a broad vision that I have, and I have to be like really pragmatic. How can I do it like every day in a simple way? So for today, I am working on actually sharing my discovery. Basically, I've discovered a way where you can be that leader and be the person that you want to be, with the self-confident. And nothing is perfect. Actually, it's all about embracing imperfection. It's all about embracing being yourself and not trying to fit in, and not trying to, just like being yourself and attracting the people who like you the way you are and who you are, and create a job that is you. And by giving yourself permission to be that person, maybe influence other people to do the same. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but this is really, so it's really embodying the person, the message that that I want to share with the world, is becoming that person. And that's been my my motivation, even on rainy days, to be like, okay, how do I embody that person? How do I become that message?
Mm-hmm. So can I ask you this question? So, like, how can people learn more about you? Where can they go to connect with you?
Well, my name is Laura Houssain. So it's HOUSSAIN.com. And this is where I share about the work I do to help women stop binge eating. This is really, this blog is focused, and I share a lot of information about emotional management, craving, how to release craving, what to do, where to get started. This is the blog. So it's laurahoussain.com. And then for more professional aspects of things, you can also contact me on LinkedIn. I'll reply to any message or a contact request there. So it's very easy. It's also linkedin.com/my name, Laura Houssain, HOUSSAIN.com.
Nice. I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you coming on today and sharing with my audience.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. And for those watching at home, I thoroughly hope that you enjoyed watching this interview and you learned something new. If you want to go and connect with a group of people who are improving themselves every day and helping others to do the same, I recommend you go and check out the links either above or below the video to our free community, either on LinkedIn or on Facebook. It's just basically a mastermind where people who are like-minded come together and uplift each other. So if that is what you want to be a part of and you've been looking for something like that, go ahead and click on the link either above or below. And I cannot wait to see you inside of our community. Also, hopefully you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so other people can get some value as well. And have a great day. Talk to you soon and see you later. And we're done recording in 3, 2, and 1.